bears shooting my computer, trying not to lose my mind. We Were Gamers, episode 256. JJ.
Hello.
Michael.
Hey, everybody.
I'd like to inform you that I did not send you half the angry thoughts I had this past week when trying to set up a soundboard.
Frustrations aplenty.
It just seems like things should be easier. JJ, you do software. Why haven't you fixed this yet?
Well, I don't do this software, that's for sure. But also, Andrew, you have a pretty unique use case from a lot of other people.
Yeah.
People that are doing streaming in a lot of cases have dedicated setups that do just that, and then once they get it set up, they never touch it again. You are plugging things in, unplugging things, and doing stuff like that all the time, which I'm sure is 100% going to cause problems. Because they plug it in and never touch it again for this reason.
Yeah. I just wanted the benefits of being able to push a button and have you guys hear stuff, like...
Welcome to the Rock.
I mean, I heard that.
Yeah. I know. That's what I'm saying. That's the best part. It's just like, if it works, it comes through. It's all good. It's all gravy. But man, you have to install a lot of stuff. Create fake inputs, fake outputs, make sure the entire computer is working together through multiple programs and at a system level. And it's just like, I
think your other option is like getting like a professional grade microphone and mix amp thing, like a Go XLR or whatever.
I think literally Go XLR is the company that has said, we could probably charge an arm and a leg for this, because I literally have a Focusrite amp that plugs into the computer, and a Stream Deck that plugs into the computer, and a this that plugs into the computer, and like all of that runs through a Go XLR instead, and does all the mixing for you, instead of having to then download Voice Meter and create all these crazy amounts of inputs.
The Go XLR also then shows up in Windows as like 5 different inputs when you plug it in, which is, it doesn't resolve you of the fact that you have to deal with a bunch of inputs, but it at least, you plug one thing in and it shows up as 10 things, which saves you some issues maybe. Yeah. I don't know, man. The answer is, this stuff is just complicated. Windows isn't built to work like this. So it's, it's unfortunately more complicated than really it should be, because I agree with you. Like, it seems like enough people are using this stuff that, like, in the prosumer kind of tier,
I think you're right.
Stuff that it should just be easier and should just work better.
Absolutely. I would definitely count most streamers as prosumers, right? Like, they're not making enough to pay for the equipment that they're buying to do this sort of thing, which is one of the reasons I tried to do this as on the cheap as possible, right? Like, we haven't...
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than my PC, which I don't count, because none of us... We would all be playing games even without this podcast, right? Like, we have not invested a significant amount of money into podcast equipment compared to the people that are monetizing their online lives and streaming all the time and doing all that sort of stuff. We're on the good but budget end of things, I think, right? Suggesting things like DaVinci Resolve for people to use, which is free, or using things like GIMP, which is free. Like, you should donate to those things, I guess, if you can. But we don't currently. If you'd like to sponsor this podcast, so we can buy a Go XLR.
In some of those cases, like I know GIMP and other ones, if you don't want to donate to them, they accept help. Like, they're free software. There are people developing it on their free time. Yeah. And if you want to work on stuff for them, because you happen to have those kinds of skills, they would happily accept your help. So that's another way to give back.
Nice. Thank you for throwing that idea out there as well. But you know what this Stream Deck is plugged into, JJ?
No, what?
Michael and I had an epiphany. We stayed on after the last podcast, much too late. Just after discussing what the limitations of PCI-e were, which we
were gamers way.
Oh yeah. So last episode we talked about PCIe and how I had run out of USB ports, and you had mentioned that your PCIe connected USB hub was a little bit unstable. So we also went through the math again, by the way, and it's about 2.5 gigabits for a PCIe 1 port. If you're on Gen 3, faster if you're on Gen 4, but barely faster, not that much faster. So you can get throughput of almost USB 3 on one device. But I did look through it, and they are shared. So it's like if you're running 3 USBs, you got to cut that by a third, unlike dedicated USB ports. So Michael and I were hashing around some ideas. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Michael who said, "What are these things that say USB on them?"
Oh, looking at the picture of the motherboard.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I wish we didn't live in this is an off tangential thing. I wish we didn't live in a bird sanctuary because do you know what a mockingbird is?
It's a bird that makes noises.
They make noises all night long. They make noises at night because they try to find mates at night. And one has taken up residence in the tree outside of our house.
You know, I know you say you live in a bird sanctuary, and it's very important for the birds to live. But what if you didn't kill the bird, but instead like threw things at it?
Or, just put up an owl statue.
Can I borrow your cats, Michael?
I mean, if they were outdoor cats.
Or like, had
it's so annoying.
A rubber band gun and shot those at the bird.
Near the bird, right? Not at the bird.
Look, if you fired it at the bird, you're not going to hit the bird with a rubber band. Like by the time it gets to that tree, it's just going to shake the tree leaves.
I have a bad feeling this guy's already made a nest, so I would just be making not a friend. But anyway, he goes.
You could
all
hit
night.
That nest.
1, 2, 3 in the morning, all night. Ugh. Somebody get this guy Tinder.
And hit that nest, man.
Is there like Tinder for birds? Can we please just get this over with? Like, okay, that was way off topic. I'm sorry. Okay, back to the
Go
USB
grab that
thing.
nest and move it to your neighbor's tree. There you go. This is suburban warfare now.
If I had a neighbor I disliked, I would. I don't think so. Anyway. USB, yeah. So we're looking at the motherboard, and he says, "What are these things that say USB on them?" I thought
USB ports.
Well, so I thought between the front and the back, we had used up all the USB that this board had, but apparently hiding underneath the graphics card are 2 USB 2 hubs. They're old style pin hubs. I don't know the identifier of that type of pin, but they're 9-pin hubs, which makes little sense because you get 2 USBs out of each one. So which is there, like a power is one and then the other 4 are for data for each one? I'm confused as to why it's 9.
One of them must be power that's split.
It must be, right?
Who the hell counts pins on a USB thing? What does the connector look like?
It's literally pins, like a pinned connector on the motherboard. 9 straight metal pins sticking out of the board that say USB under them.
Oh, you never connected anything to them.
Right. So I have USB ports to the front of my computer. So the front of my computer is connected to USB ports. Right. It has a USB 3 hub that is plugged into. The back of my computer has tons of USB ports through the motherboard. But there were these other USB hubs that got hidden when we put the video card in. And I guess I had assumed that we were out of motherboard space. And that's why I was asking about PCIe. Yeah.
You were just out of holes on your case to run ports to, I guess.
Yeah. So now I have an expansion card slot taken up with this tiny one card. It's not even a card. It's just USBs and wires that run to these 9-pin ports. So I got 4 USB 2s.
Okay. The term for that is a header. That's why I was getting confused.
Sorry,
It's not the
header.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Header.
and so the motherboard has these headers for them, and you just plug stuff into them, and then all of a sudden they work fine, right? Because there's already
Yeah.
the wires and stuff to the chips and everything. You just needed to plug something
Right.
into it.
And I
Yeah,
imagine
that's cool.
they're just as stable as everything else on the board. I mean, they're
Why
not going
wouldn't
to
they
be
be? Yeah.
unstable like a PCIe connection or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's still USB 2 instead of 3, but like you don't care, right?
But the Stream Deck doesn't care.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't need
Like my
tons of
keyboard doesn't care.
Yeah.
My mouse doesn't care.
Yeah, it's like you need a higher polling rate on your mouse? No. Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yes, my mouse needs
even if you did, USB 2 is still fine.
my mouse needs USB 3.1 power because it has anti-gravity units in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah. So we've managed to secure. Well, I've already used one of them, so 3 additional USB 2s. But thank you for the suggestions. I got a few suggestions about PCIe brands that were maybe more stable than off brands. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if
that is a thing. That is a thing though. So like when I was looking them up, that is a thing. Like you want the one with the chipset made by this company and not this other company.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that
exactly what happened. They sent me a chipset. This
Like, don't get this one, it's garbage.
Yep. A friend of mine who listens to the pod, who works with chips, sent me a chipset, and he's like, "Whatever you do your research. Make sure it's this USB chipset." I was like, "Oh, dang!" So shout out to that text message. I appreciate it. Yeah. So that was part 2 of the USB/PCIe follow-up component class. There you go. And now we have a soundboard where I can say things like,
"Welcome to the Rock."
there you go. Done.
I do like The Rock, and being welcome to it makes me feel at home.
I miss Sean Connery. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
The most I've used this soundboard, by the way, is actually for Warzone.
Mm-hmm.
You can when you die in that game, people can hear your microphone, and so I just play funny sounds through the soundboard for them, so they think they're listening to Will Ferrell or somebody else. You know,
You need to come up with an aesthetic for your team. We did this back when I used to play Dota a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because we got to the point where there were enough of us playing most nights that we could get a team of 4 or 5 together. And when the game started at this time, I don't know if this is still the case, but at that time, it would line all the people up in a row, like the top 5 people and then the next 5 people. You know, it's like versus kind of a thing. And you would just see their name and then their little player icon next to them, right? Top 5 and then versus bottom 5.
Sure.
And the order the people were in was determined by the order in the party that you were.
Did you have a names for your team?
We did this.
Oh no.
And we started coordinating our user icons and our screen names, because you could change, and it's just uses your Steam screen name, so you could change it to whatever you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
And eventually we started changing the name to Welcome to the Space Jam. And we had 5 parts of the like half of Michael Jordan's face from the Space Jam poster. So it's like the top one is his forehead, and then the next one is like the eye, and then the next one is his nose, and then the mouth, and then the chin. And so you just see like half of Michael Jordan's face.
Nice.
And then
Actually,
because in that game also,
that's amazing.
and it is, and
I know.
it doesn't, we were terrible at the game, so it didn't really like produce any effect other than to get some people to laugh, because definitely you got some people who were like, this is amazing, like good job, like and then other times no one says anything, they just continue to murder you, because that's that game.
Yep.
But it was a fun time. So your team could do the same thing. You all need to pick a thing, get a funny thing, and then just line it all up, and so that you guys' names are all together and you have funny quotes from the same thing. And
The only benefit to that would be if we were all murdered by the same person, who would then see our names in a row on his kill feed. Other than that, you don't really get to see other people's names, except for like if they win the game, which we did, by the way. We got our first win this past week, which was, I know it's just a shooter, and I'm just shooting things, and people are way better at it than us, and it's really not the most. It's not mindless. You have to actually think quite a bit. Oh, hold on. We've got a.
Oh, it's just one after another.
It just keeps going. It's like a huge string of them. There's a helicopter now.
A
Wow.
rich person's house must have got hit. That's why the police are out there.
Lordy, I gotta get some thicker windows, bud. I put it on the list. It's
Double
happening.
pane windows are one of the best things you can ever get for your house. It's amazing.
It's happening. There's no chance it's not happening this year. We're budgeting it out. You know what I mean? Okay.
Speaking of, hold on. No, we're talking about houses now.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Whatever the
All
other
right,
topic
no.
is, it's out. It's gone. We're not doing it anymore. We're talking about this.
All right.
So, we're going to redo our backyard this year.
Hey, good for you.
We decided to spend too much money, so we're doing it.
Uh-huh.
We got some people out and gave us quotes, did all that stuff.
Oh, you're going whole hog here.
We're doing a thing, man.
getting quotes.
People are tearing up concrete. People are ripping off the
Oh,
pergola.
snaps. Yeah.
We're going to have them pour new concrete, build a different pergola, make the back of the house look nice. We're going to redo the front stucco because it looks like garbage and make it less garbage.
Sure.
And then maybe sometime we'll redo the front driveway and the concrete up there, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
So anyway, we got all the quotes done. We selected who we wanted to go with. We said, all right, we're ready to go. You let us know what the next step is. He's like, all right, I'll let you know. Radio silence for 2 weeks.
Oh man.
Ooh.
Wonderful. So I email this person back and be like, hey, what the heck? What's going on? And he's like, can we come Wednesday?
No, please.
And I'm like,
come on.
Are you doing this to me now? That's not enough time. So we went back and forth. We found like a real time for them to show up, but it does mean we need to it is soon enough that we need to get our act into gear and move stuff we have sitting around on that area and start getting it cleaned off. So we started that process.
We too have recently experienced this need to move things.
Yeah, it's like we're not redoing every square inch of the backyard, so we have space you could move things from one side to the other side and can stay there while the one side gets torn up and everything.
Sure.
So we're doing that. But I had to make him aware of some things about the location that my house happens to be in. There are cars on my street every day. And in fact, almost all the parking spaces in and around my house every day are taken.
Yeah, because work from home and street parking and
not just work from home. Before work from home, it was like this. There just are cars up and down my street. There's not a lot of places to park.
Okay.
So I let this contractor know, hey, if you and your team need places to park, they probably won't be able to be directly in front of our house. Now,
unless you're able to snag the spots the night before or something.
I don't know that I am inclined to wake up at dark AM or whatever sometime, however, to figure out when exactly it is the one time a day that these people leave their spots or whatever, because they seem to be there all the time as far as I can tell, right? But also, we park our cars in our garage. So if a gigantic dumpster that was needed for hauling things away appeared in the middle of our driveway one day, for instance,
you would be in trouble.
That is a big problem because we couldn't be able to leave to go to work, and then not be able to then pay the people who are doing this work for us.
Sure.
It's like, hey, you need to give us advance notice if that's going to happen, because otherwise, this is a big issue.
Oh boy.
So, we'll see how that goes over, but I had to remind him of that today. Just like, hey, just letting you know, this is how it is around here. This place is busy and there's a school not far from us. So if you arrive at 7 a.m., let's say, a lot of the parking in this area is taken up by people dropping their kids off at school.
I have a question.
And that'll be gone by 8, but that doesn't help them if they arrive at 7, right?
Question. Do you have street sweeping?
Yes, but very infrequently.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Ours is regular and ticketed.
Yeah, I've never seen a person ever get a ticket from our street sweepers, ever once.
But because it's regular and ticketed, I have used this to my advantage because they will not ticket work trucks. Because you can't, right? There's no way that a 20-foot pickup truck with a 15-foot trailer can park all in my driveway for one. You know what I mean? They can't.
Yeah.
And so I have in the past on street sweeping days had dumpsters and other things delivered because I knew there would not be cars on the street.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have it regular, then it's hard to.
I believe in their ingenuity and a way to figure this out. It's just a question of like, they can't just show up day one with a dumpster and not tell us.
Yeah.
You know, they need to let us know a day or two in advance so we can move our cars out of our garage so that we aren't trapped. Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff. So it's not a big deal.
It's gonna feel so cool, man, once you get a new backyard set up. Oh man.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna do a built-in barbecue and a whole bunch of stuff. So it should be really nice once it all gets done. So it's just a question of like, you know, what we can, the bridge between here and there, you know.
Okay. When's the start date on all this work?
Soon.
Not
Nice.
Wednesday.
Not Wednesday.
Well, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not clear. Is he coming out to like settle the things that we didn't finish talking about when he gave us the quote on Wednesday, or are they coming out with sledgehammers and a jackhammer? Right? Like I don't know.
As things go with contractors, what are you doing this day? I have found that not almost all, but many general contractors even are kind of useless at telling me what is happening, what day, and when. So I've gotten rid of most general contracting and just do it myself, because then I can call the people directly and be like, so, landscaper friend, you're coming this day. Exactly what are we doing?
Yeah. And to be fair, I don't like, it doesn't matter, right? I just want the whole thing done. And so it's not, it isn't important to me what order they go in, but like, I understand the order of operations has to be demo first before you can build the new thing. So I'm assuming they would want to do the demo first, right? Which is why I made the point about you can't just show up with a giant bin in front of my house at 7 a.m.
No. Yeah. Cool, man.
So we'll see. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think we can get back on track pretty easily here. I was shooting stuff in Warzone.
Great.
We won a Warzone game. It was very exciting. Shout out to Alex and Ken. We probably will be a long time before I get to say we won again, because we mostly just play for fun.
Hey, savor it.
Savor the flip, man. You know, it does feel good. You know what's good? It's that same feeling, but much, much smaller, of like, we're getting, you know, when you committed to getting your yard done, it's going to feel awesome. And for like 3 minutes, you feel really cool about winning a Warzone game. When you're like, I beat 150 people at this thing. That's cool.
That does sound cool.
I'm not the only one shooting stuff. Michael, I heard the word robotic bears.
You heard right.
Is this related to Horizon?
It might be. Yes.
Okay, I got an email for you about Horizon. I'm just going to throw it into this right now.
Let's hear it.
The expansion, this is from Alex. Not the same Alex I play Warzone with, to be clear. Expansion material. Be warned, it is much harder than the main game's content, but stick it out. It is worth the ending.
Yes, it is definitely much harder. So I'm really glad that I played through the main game and beat everything before jumping into the DLC, because even over the end game content, this is a step up in difficulty.
Yeah, this would seem to be what the email implied. So that's what I was asking about, because I was curious.
Yeah, so one of the immediate things for me is you gain in the main game, you gain an arrow that lets you corrupt the machines, and they will attack anything that's in their range, including other machines. So you can
Awesome.
stumble onto a herd of machines and from cover hit them with corruption arrows and watch them tear themselves apart without you having to do anything.
I love powers like that in video games, dude. Every time it lets you charm enemies and do stuff like this, it's the best.
Just creating a version of AI which responds to environmental input other than like, oh, I heard a sound, that kind of thing.
Yep.
You know, corruption arrows, or like shooting something that falls on people, or this type of thing is just really cool. And I'm glad that they added that into the game for you to experience. That's cool.
Yeah, and then with part of the storyline, the new enemies in the DLC are basically immune to corruption.
Oh.
No.
No.
Boo.
Why?
Yep.
Why you do
Hit with the nerf
this?
bat. There are still some regular enemies scattered throughout, so you can still corrupt them and have them attack the new enemies. But in general, the new ones are so much stronger that the regular ones just get wrecked.
Okay.
Shaking my head here.
Yeah, part of playing through the DLC has been coming up with new and different combat strategies.
Oh boy.
It's worked
Do
out
they
pretty well.
give you more options? Like, hey, here's a new thing, or you just have to kind of
there are 3 new weapons that you get as part of the DLC, and you also get the ability to upgrade your spear.
But do they lock you into those things?
No, you still are just as flexible in terms of your weapon choices. You just lose that one strategy out of your arsenal, basically.
Okay.
All right, I feel less bad then.
Yeah, I would be sad if you told me, oh yeah, once you use the new weapons, it's like, no, well, you spent the whole game learning these things. They shouldn't be
Yeah,
required.
they're all still viable. The new weapons do some neat niche things, but they're not a straight up replacement for the older stuff. There are weapon upgrades that are the next step up from what you got used to using, but that's about it.
Okay, so give us a rundown now that you've fought some bears. What's your
Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned this before, but all of the machines are modeled off of different kinds of animals.
Yeah, right, yeah. You mentioned
Right.
this before.
And so one of the new ones is based off of, I assume because it's in the snow, Kodiak bears.
Muh.
That's a big bear.
Yeah, and it's this giant, basically a giant ice mech that is trying to maul you if you get anywhere close to it. And I found out today that it has an animation where it can literally grab you and put you through a real short scripted animation where it tries to snap you in half.
Oh no.
I'd like to say it has an animation I've discovered today of mauling me to death. Is a pretty good, like, it's not like, oh, it's a funny thing that I saw from afar. It's like, no, I got murdered and this is the way.
If you're actually, come to think of it, it takes off more than half of your health, or it took off more than half of my health. So if I had tried to play this at a lower level and that happened to me, it would have just been a wipe.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's concerning.
Yikes.
But it's
the
good.
answer here, I think.
To answer something you asked me about, the story of the DLC has engaged me in the same way that the main storyline did. So
That's what this email implied.
Awesome.
yeah. So I have stuck it out. I'm maybe a little more than halfway through it, and it's been really good. So I'm looking forward to wrapping it up.
Nice.
I want to interject here before we move on. I believe this game, Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition, which includes the DLC, is
complete.
free right now on PlayStation. By the time you hear this, go get this game for free on PlayStation 4.
Go do it.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's literally free. Just
it costs nothing. You just go click the button and it gives it to you forever for free.
Hey, so since you brought up the PlayStation Store, now they're not. Somebody explain this. Now they're not doing some of the shutdowns.
So I think we talked about it on this podcast before, right? That they're shutting down the PSP, PS Vita, and PS3 stores.
That was the original announcement, yes.
And I guess today, Sony came out and said, all right, we're backtracking. Sorry. We're actually not going to shut down the PS3 and PS Vita stores. That PSP one's still dead, though. We're going to be.
We're still going to murderize that one.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
So, don't really know what I didn't read the entire press release or whatever about it. I just saw people saying, this is a good idea that they did this. And then I also saw other people that are like video game preservationists saying, hey, if you didn't think that it was important to preserve digital video games, this is why, because eventually you will never be able to purchase these games and they will be gone forever.
Yep.
You know, not all of them will be, because a lot of them that they made money on, they will remake. Or they'll remake, and remake again. Like The Last of Us apparently is getting another remake.
I think you vastly overestimate when you say a lot. I think there will be a very few that will happen for, and the vast majority of them will just be gone forever.
You're probably right. Yeah, no, you're
like
probably
the biggest
right.
games like The Last of Us and God of War, these kind of games that are so big and popular, absolutely they're going to put those out again. But like, $15 downloadable games that only came out on PS3 in 2008.
Yeah.
Probably
Can
not.
I say an unpopular opinion? A lot of those games are ephemeral artwork that maybe they just don't exist anymore.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But, if you bought it before, you still own it.
Yeah. I don't know. It just feels like overly worrisome. I am a proponent of, we've been very clear. I'm a proponent of buying things physically if you can, right?
Yeah.
One of those reasons is it gives you the leeway to say, I didn't like this, and you can get rid of it. But another one is they can't take it away from you. But given where we're headed, and that probably wasn't true in the PS3 era as much as it is in the PS5 era, of some games get to the point of like $1, $2, $5, really less than a bucket of popcorn sometimes, right? I'm less inclined to at least say your money wasn't, well spent already, even if you lost access to that thing. We pay X dollars a month for Netflix. You lose access to stuff on there all the time. So I think it's a little overblown, the shutting down the PS3 store, but I get why people would want that stuff accessible forever.
Yeah,
I get it.
I think the concern, right, is that in a way that games like from the NES, SNES, and even back to like the PlayStation and the N64 and these sorts of consoles have enjoyed a renaissance in more recent days, right? Games that used to be popular on these old systems in the 80s and the 90s and even more recently now in the 2000s. Those games have enjoyed renaissances again because they're still accessible. You can still play them, right? Like you can show them to your children because you have the carts available and you can plug them in and show someone, hey, here's what Mario was like in 2001 or whatever.
Yeah. You reminded me of this, JJ. I'm gonna tangent you. Did we ever talk about the article about that dad who wrote about how he was going to basically gate his child's video game playing so that he could progress through the systems in release order to have a better he felt like it would give his son a better appreciation for the state of modern gaming if he started playing on like an NES and then graduated to an SNES as he got older and then to an Xbox.
We totally talked about this. I just don't remember if we talked. You and I and Andrew talked about it. I just don't remember if we did it on the podcast or not.
Okay, yeah.
It's a genius idea.
Is it a genius idea or is it child abuse?
I think it depends on what age they are, right? Like if you try and do this to your 14-year-old, that I don't know if that's okay. But
I know
like 5.
I know we talked about it, but I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast because I think I told you guys the story of when I tried to make Katie's little sister play Mario 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like
this is about what I mean. Like,
she didn't make it through the first level of the game, before she was just done. So
yeah.
I don't know. See, this is one argument it's great. I love having my NES and SNES cart drawer, right? It's there. I'm investing in an NT Mini. I obviously think that things should be preserved. But at the same time, you could just sign up for that Nintendo Switch online service and you've got a lot of those games that I have in that drawer right there. Anyway, accessible to me. And I don't know personally whether my life will be affected by the fact that I won't be able to re-download Flower or um jeez, I don't even know, like Lego Batman.
Flower's a bad
1.
choice because Flower did come to other systems,
Right.
but like
See,
Echo
that's what I
Chrome
mean.
did not, for instance. And there's a number of other indie
But
titles that never
but a
did.
lot of things that were moderately successful. Journey, that's going to come probably as well, right? I think that's already been,
came out on PS5.
right, yeah. So
You know,
gosh, I don't know.
we deal with this a lot, I think, in a different realm, and I don't think it is as impactful because the stores don't open and close. But if you think about mobile gaming, this happens with phone generations.
Oh gosh, and
Yep.
and if it happens with phone apps, like
Yep.
I can't even.
I was going to say
imagine.
there are games from a long time ago in Android that just don't run anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Too many Google versions ago, and they never got updated.
I literally have, I know, spent over $50 on games that I just have no access to anymore because they will not run. I can't even download them anymore because the versions are too old, right? They won't.
Mhm.
Apple Store won't let you, and I mean the Apple Store probably shouldn't let you because they shouldn't let you download stuff that doesn't work, right?
Yeah, and old stuff can be a security hazard too.
Could be. I don't know if that I would make that argument considering the garden theory that they use for some of these phones.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's incumbent on the store not to sell you something that is broken. And that applies to everything in life, right? Like if you go buy a TV at Best Buy's a bad example because I hate that store, but they shouldn't sell you a broken TV. Now, be careful because Best Buy will sell you a TV that has less features and they charge you the same amount of money for as the one that has all the features. But in general, if you bought something broken, they can't sell it to you, right? Yeah, and so sometimes I think people forget that stores and companies have to act like stores and companies. I get it. I get the preservation argument.
I mean, I think the arguments that I saw from most of these preservationist people was like, "Hey, this is the time for you to go jailbreak your PS3s. Like,
Sure.
If you want to play these games, it is time for you to upload your custom firmwares and get the SD card reader going, and
I mean,
play those games that way." Because
frankly,
Sony is eventually just going to turn the store off. It's
frankly,
not today, right? It might be 2 years from now, but they will.
I'll get flack for saying this. I'm absolutely certain from someone somewhere in the future, 10 years from now. But frankly, the argument for this is to not worry about piracy as much as they worry about piracy.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think the answer here is like, look, if the store was making so little money for this company that they were willing to just get rid of it entirely, right? If that was their position from a spreadsheet standpoint or whatever, people pirating the games weren't going to make them any difference, right? Who cares? How many people are pirating these games at this point? Or how many people are playing them on emulators on PC, right?
Right.
Which is also a thing you can do.
Right, which is the reason that like I wouldn't be, if someone was like, "Oh yeah, I have all those SNES games on my other, what do we call it the other day? Other firmware." I have all those.
Yeah,
NES
that's what you
games
called
on
it
my
for your other firmware.
alternative firmware. I have all those games on my alternative firmware. Well, fine. You know, like Nintendo is not selling Mario 1. Sure, they have it on their online store, but the not store, as a VIP
service,
thing, right? Service. But that's an incentive. It's not like the reason they're making money off that service. The reason they're making money off that service is people who want to play Tetris 99 or play Mario Kart or play. No one's signing up for that to play their SNES games again.
Right.
And if they did,
And
they signed up for 1 month and then they were like, at least SNES games are SNES games, and they turned it off.
Yeah. And I think that argument extends right to all of these systems. Like, how many people are buying, I'm trying to think of like what's an obscure PlayStation 1 game or a really obscure N64 game. Like no one is buying Konami's Soccer 98.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like Madden 2001.
Yeah.
These kinds of games, like no one is buying those on any store. Like even if they brought them back out, no one would pay for
Okay.
these.
I'm going to flip it on its head and make Michael answer first, though.
Okay.
What if we're all geriatrics at Dave and Buster's 5 years from now, and we're all sitting around, and JJ's playing hoops, and you and I are sitting to drinking a beer, and across your phone comes, Valve is shutting down Steam, the store, everything. How would we feel?
I mean, is Valve shutting down Steam because they are replacing it with the next thing?
Yeah,
These
the
are
next
they're
thing,
not
right?
being,
Like
they're not
we're
being
gonna.
shut down in a vacuum.
I mean, for some people, it might feel like it was shut down in a vacuum. I don't think it makes much. It's not a direct comparison.
I
right?
will say this: if they're going to shut down, like if they decided to shut down Steam and move on to whatever it was, whether or not the new system will let you bring things over from the old system, just make it so that the old Steam still runs. That's all that I would need, because I have all of the games already. As long as the client still runs, or let me
Okay,
run the
so
games outside the client, then it's just the same as having a physical media.
JJ, feel free to butt in here, but here's the scenario. Valve says Steam is no longer a product we are going to support because we're moving to Smoke or whatever, right?
There's a free name for you, Valve. You heard it here first.
Liquid hydrogen.
Dry ice smoke.
Yeah, dry ice.
Because blah blah blah, PC architecture has changed in the last 10 years, and the Steam platform was built to do this and that and the other thing. We will no longer be supporting Steam. All games purchased through Steam will be not available or downloadable in your account on the Smoke platform, and we won't support Steam in the future. So if you upgrade to a new PC or Windows 28, you just won't have access to that stuff anymore.
So I and other people would be super pissed.
What's the difference?
So the difference is, right, two things. Number one, Steam is still massively profitable for them. So that's like a straight up lie if they say that, right? Like Steam makes Valve billions of dollars a year. Now, I am sure Sony is not making billions of dollars a year from the PS3 and PS Vita stores. No chance, right?
Again, we're 2 generations beyond this, right? And the Vita didn't even last a whole generation, I don't think.
But the Vita did come out, was out concurrent with PS4. There were times when Vita and PS4 games.
Yeah, you could remote play on your PS4 to your Vita.
Yes.
Yep.
So
in theory, I can still do that.
If you're talking in terms of timelines, right? Like the Vita should be shut down last in theory.
Sure.
But that won't be how it works. But whatever, who cares? So the difference here is that like there is no fundamental change in PC hardware, I guess, yet. Maybe they decide that we need to move to 128-bit crypto processors or something in the future, and that
all computers
Steam will not work anymore. Right?
So Smoke will work on NFTs. So all games will be NFTs, and your computer will have to mine the encryption key each time you buy a game.
Oh, see, so now I object to it on moral grounds then. Like now I don't even have to have a discussion about the horrible business practice. I can just object to it on the fact that it's destroying the planet. That's like a great, easy one.
Oh my
for me.
God. Did you read this story, Michael?
Which one?
About Bitcoin? Just Bitcoin. Bitcoin mining takes more power than all the solar panels on the globe.
Yes, I saw this. Yeah.
Not only is the idea of a digital currency with wildly fluctuating values asinine at this point in time, but you can't even do it without bankrupting an entire nation's worth of power.
I mean, the problem here is the market attached to it, right? There's really nothing wrong with the idea behind it, cryptographically or in terms of the usefulness of the thing. The problem is that people are using it as a way to generate money out of thin air, essentially, and doing that by stealing lots and lots and lots of power, mostly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Especially from places where you can get power very cheaply, like third world countries, and really just like destroying their economy, like brownouting whole towns because you're running 800 crypto cards or whatever. Like that's a thing that happens.
That is truly a thing that happens. People should look that up. Yeah. So ecologically opposed
Anyway,
on this podcast.
The point then is that like, what is the use case for them moving on to smoke as opposed to using Steam, right? Like, was his "Get Over Here" sound from Mortal Kombat just that sweet, and they needed it
Well,
so
I need to
bad?
add that to my soundboard sound list.
Yeah,
Hold
you
on.
should.
Yes.
"Get Over Here" from Mortal Kombat is a really good one.
Yeah, I gotta hold on. I'm getting a pen. Yeah,
I mean,
keep going. Keep going.
Andy, if you wait 4 days, you'll be able to pull that from the new movie.
Yeah, I've heard maybe.
You know, so it's like
I'm gonna watch it. So
Is it gonna be on HBO?
yes,
It is.
Maybe
Day and
it's
date.
finally time to sign up for my HBO trial. You know what I mean?
So, or Andrew, do you hold off and do it for Dune later this year?
Shoot. I got 2 email addresses.
Okay, I'm just saying that that's a thing because that is happening later this year. Also,
Dune does sound good.
I
It
want to
looks
say it's.
good.
Big same. So I will end up watching this stupid Mortal Kombat movie. I've heard it's not great, but I don't care. I'm in. And I still have committed to watching Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, and I have not done it yet. I will. I promise. I did watch.
We have a lot on
Batman
our
versus
list.
Superman, though.
We have a lot
I
on
don't
our
know why I
list.
did that.
Yeah. Well, you needed to see it.
BVS DOJUE. That was the movie I saw. You know, the extra hour.
Jesus.
It's like 45 minutes or something, but you know what? It makes the movie better. There's like reasons that the characters do things now instead of just randomly doing things for no reason. Now you can argue. You could argue if the reasons are good. They're probably not good, but you know, at least the movie attempts to explain the reasoning why things happen. That's more than the theatrical cut did.
Will Ferrell has stated my opinion.
All right, sorry, I disrupted this entire podcast.
What were we talking about?
I don't even know anymore.
Smoke, Steam.
Yeah.
I think
Shutting down stores. Yeah.
I think though the problem with the Steam issue, right? Like if you download your PS3 games, right? And you keep your PS3 in working condition, those PS3 games will work as long as you own your PS3. The problem with a Steam game is that in 6, 8, 10 months time after a couple updates, if Valve isn't there to poke these companies and say you need to mess with your game because it's on our store and it's not working, they're just gonna fall off, and then you won't be able to.
So
fix
that
them
does
anymore.
happen, right? Like when a new version of Windows comes out, that will happen, right? If Windows decides to go to Windows 12 or 17 or whatever and force everyone to upgrade again, which I'm skeptical that they will do at this point because they're giving Windows 10 away for free to everyone.
I really,
Whatever.
I honestly am with you. It seems like OS 10 and Windows 10 are going to be the kind of going forward forever operating systems. I don't know how much.
We'll see. Who knows? I can't predict the future. God knows.
I mean,
Maybe
unless
NFTs take over and they have to do something.
look,
I don't know.
Chip
God knows.
architecture will eventually change, and then the operating systems will have to upgrade. But until then,
who knows?
It's likely they will try to stabilize the operating system market.
Yeah. So it seems unlikely, but it is the case that when Windows 10 came out, everyone that had been using stuff on Windows 7 or
Yep, they all
Windows
broke.
8,
Everything
a
broke.
lot of stuff broke, and that's some of that stuff was not ever fixed. And so it is the case that there are Steam games that are out there that could be in your library now, potentially, depending on how many games you own, that just don't run on the operating system you're currently using. Now, if you go back to Windows 7 somehow, VM or whatever,
Compatibility mode.
run compatibility mode, hit or miss sometimes, right? But
Yeah.
if you did, right, it should work, and probably the game would run there. But are you going to like install a virtual machine and like get all that set up and stuff so that you can play, I don't know what, like whichever old game it is that you have that you really wanted to run it? Or would you
Crusader
just, like,
Kings
not?
1.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. So
Yeah.
I understand
This
the
stuff- I mean,
argument
but this
here,
stuff
but
happens,
I
right?
think
Like-
that
I like that we're having this discussion because this stuff happens. I have discs of games that I love, right? And some of those games have been upgraded and resold. StarCraft, I have the disc originally because I can't It's such a formative game for me that the disc is like a totem and it's in a closet. I'm never going to look at it or whatever, but I can't install that game. It will not install off of that CD. Same thing with
No,
Mech
no way.
Warrior
Yeah.
or anything else that we liked as kids. Unless they get re-released through GOG or something else, they're just not going to run. So like game preservationists, I think, have a lofty goal and a right goal, I think. But they have to, you also have to live in reality, which says that digital programs, a lot of them become vapor because they just can't function anymore.
And I think that they're not, these people aren't saying that everything must always, I mean, they would like it, I think, if that was the case. But you are right that eventually they can't save everything. There just aren't enough people that care about it that deeply. And B, because like if this was so important to so many people, companies, there would be monetary value in it, right?
Yeah, they
And
wouldn't be
companies
shutting down in the first place.
wouldn't be doing this in the first place. The reason it happens is because the number of people that care about it deeply is very small, and we just happen to intersect with those group of people in various ways and different levels. So
Well, you're also looking at what proliferation has done, right? The Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, they have a finite amount of games, unless you're talking about ROM hacks and all that sort of stuff, which we're not going to talk about. But they have a finite amount of games, right? And they have a dedicated audience. And so ROMing those games, creating emulators for those games, and even selling $600 pieces of hardware to play those games is a profitable business model because it has an somewhat achievable solutions, right? Like there's only so many of these things. There's more if you count some of the Japanese released games, but it's doable. When you get to the PS3 era and the PC and all this, there's just no way. The proliferation is too high.
well, and that speaks to the fact that games have gotten more popular as the years have gone on, right? Like there were less people that played a Nintendo than played a Super NES, then played a PS2, then played a Wii, then played a Switch. It's not a straight like ascending line, but the market for games as a whole has increased, as on a going upward line through all those years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, at some point there are just too many people that are involved to, explore these things on a very narrow level like that.
Right. Okay. I think that my smoke argument doesn't hold entire water because it's not comparable to the current situation, but it's an eventuality.
Also, I believe Valve at one point said that if they do ever shut Steam down completely, they would publish the keys or whatever so that you download the game and then unlock it for free running on your computer forever at that point. So
Yeah, one would hope, right? One would hope. Okay. I'm working my way back through all these conversations we've had. JJ, what have you been shooting?
bears?
Wait, robotic bears?
No. So did you know that bears can see you when you're hunting them? And if they see you pointing a gun at them, they can jump out of the way of your bullets.
For the first thing makes some sense. The second thing, Michael, have you ever seen a bear jump out of a bullet?
Not a real bear.
A mechanical bear?
Yes.
Okay.
But also I don't have bullets, I have a bow and arrow, so
So
that's
maybe-
a lot easier to yeah. Okay.
Some velocity differences there for sure. So I've been playing. I've still been playing Yakuza 5 remastered on the PC, and I raced taxis for a long time. That was pretty fun. Because the taxi racing minigame was fun, and you could play the Daytona USA soundtrack over it, so that was great. So I did that for a while, and then as the story moved on, the character that was racing taxis eventually his part in the story finished, and I was controlling another character who eventually got stranded in the mountains during a blizzard, and you had to hunt food to survive in this small hunting village somewhere in northern Japan. And so you rely on these local people to give you some cold weather gear because you didn't have any, and they give you a hunting rifle because you need it, and you get to go out and trap game and hunt deer and so forth. In the Yakuza game. And one of eventually you learn that the town is being menaced by the god of the mountain, Yama Orochi, a giant bear.
Oh my.
Yeah, and the bear is like, starting to attack people, getting all violent and whatnot. And there's a whole thing behind it. You can play the game and find out, but you hunt bears. And as you're aiming down your gun, it is kind of mini game-ish in that the way like Yakuza has a lot of different kinds of mini games. It's not like the same kind of, you don't have gun combat in these games the same way you do like the punching and kicking combat.
Okay.
So as you're aiming down the sights of this gun to try to shoot the bear, if the bear sees you aiming at it, it like goes into alert mode, and like if you shoot, it will jump out of the way. And so they in the tutorial they tell you if this happens, you have to wait until the bear charges you and then shoot it in the face.
Jeez.
And like all these animals, if you headshot them, they drop at once, right? But if you don't headshot them, the bear will jump on you and maul you.
Wow.
Tis a silly game.
Tis. It sounds very much tis.
Yeah.
Wow.
The hunting game is very silly, but also fun.
Wonderful. Oh man. Okay. I just was wondering, I didn't get to ask, but did you ever play Crazy Taxi?
Oh yeah, that's a great game.
Okay. How much was the taxi game like Crazy Taxi?
So the controls are a little more stiff, I would say, than Crazy Taxi. Felt like you're sliding all over the road all the time, and you're like,
I want a new version of that game, and I'm wondering if this is for me.
So I think what you want is Grand Theft Auto.
No. Really?
Game has a lot of driving around of cars and slamming into stuff all the time.
Okay. I think if people had a suggestion for a new version of Crazy Taxi, they should send it in.
Yeah, this game is the taxi missions in Yakuza 5 are hilarious because while there are some where you race, like you go onto the freeway and you're trying to beat this street racing gang by beating them in a taxi to demoralize them.
Okay.
I mean, that checks out, right? If you're like a hot street racer and you got beat by a dude in a taxi, you'd probably be pretty upset
I'd quit.
about it.
Yeah, I'd be really mad.
But the other missions, the like non-racing missions, are straight up you like show up to pick up a passenger and then have to drive safely around the town or they get mad at you. You have to turn on your blinkers. You have to like watch the pedestrians, stop at the lights, like all that stuff.
Wow.
And meanwhile you're carrying on the conversations with the passengers and stuff.
Sure.
It's very fun. I enjoyed those taxi missions quite a bit.
Wow. All right. If you know of a Crazy Taxi game that's not on iOS or Android, because, well, you know what? I have that controller hooked up to my phone. It could be even that too. Where would you send it?
You could send those to podcast@weweregamers.com and we will take a look at those because that actually sounds pretty fun. I haven't played Crazy Taxi in a long time. I would probably consider doing that.
I don't know why. When you said taxi game, I got a nostalgia hit. Michael, did you play Crazy Taxi?
I remember Crazy Taxi, but I don't think I ever played it.
Was it only on Dreamcast? Maybe that's why.
I think it came out originally on Dreamcast. Was it an arcade game?
They had an arcade seat for it. I don't know if it came first.
I'm pretty
Maybe
sure I played it.
I've
played that game at like a Dave and Buster's.
I guarantee you they had an arcade version. We don't do research on this podcast.
I'm pretty sure it was a Dreamcast game.
From my memory, my brain says same time arcade and Dreamcast were released. That's my guess because I remember playing it on the Dreamcast in like, oh my gosh, it would have been pre or in high school, so like 2000, 2001. And I was going to arcades in 2001, 2002, so it had to have been like right before then because it was out in arcades by 2002 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's off the top of my head.
No, that sounds right.
Anyway, if you know more about it or you have an option, hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah. We are at We Were Gamers on Twitter and on Instagram, and check us out at We Were Gamers on Facebook. And YouTube, you can search for us on there. We Were Gamers, all one word. And like and subscribe to our channel. It is actually extremely helpful to us, so please do that.
I'm checking GOG right now.
Andy, before we go, I have to call you out because
Oh,
you
no.
gave me grief a month ago about how
Is
does
this
anyone
about
go to
peanut butter
No.
waffles? No,
This
I
is how to-
am defended. I am defended here. I suggested the purchase of it and was shot down by my spouse. I am
Purchase of what now?
okay.
So
we
he gave
didn't.
me
Okay.
grief. He gave
Yeah,
me grief for
I
going
did.
to Knott's. And how
I
does
did.
anyone go to Knott's and not get a funnel cake?
Okay,
But
no,
we
hold on,
spent
hold
an
on.
entire day at Knott's on Saturday, and there was no funnel cake
That's
eaten by Andy.
that's not fair assessment of what I said the first time or what happened this time. I was vindicated by the fact that there are special funnel cakes right now with boysenberry soft serve on them. And so
Oh, yeah.
I thought, well, I would like to get one of those. And then my wonderful spouse said she would rather have 2 different desserts, and we didn't need 3 desserts. Okay?
That just seems wrong to me. I think you do need 3 desserts.
I think maybe we should have had 3 desserts. I considered purchasing one on my way out of the park. Okay, but you're right. You're right. I did not live up to... I didn't stand up for myself and say that I thought it was important to have the funnel cake.
But I think you also didn't understand until you were there the difficulty of choosing from that menu.
Well, since we have time, JJ, we still have a few
So,
minutes here.
I looked this up already, so prepare to be sad. 1999, arcade Crazy Taxi.
First.
2000,
Okay.
Dreamcast version. So followed very shortly after, and then it eventually came to PlayStation 2 and GameCube and PC and other places.
I think if anything, Michael undersold the vastness of the food menu.
Yeah, it's big.
It's impossible. I was so full.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't even use... So out of 16, because we took our kids, tickets, I guess you would call them, or items or whatever, we used 5 for drinks. Because we got like a regular non-alcoholic drink too. So that's only 11 split amongst 4 people. And I was still didn't eat dinner that night.
Yeah.
They don't skimp.
When Stephanie and I went, low these many months ago, it was similar. There were 2 of us. We used some on like drinks and stuff. So like but we were getting alcohol, so that. But also we had both. We barely ate breakfast, and we had lunch and dinner completely within the park before we left, and we were extremely full by the end.
Wow. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a lot. I don't know how they do it. I'm getting full just thinking about it again.
Good stuff.
All right.
I'm gonna go download that Horizon game right now. I'm turning on my PlayStation.
Yeah,
Oh,
to
mine's
it.
already downloaded.
It's such a good game. You guys need to play
You're
it.
waiting. I don't know.
No, I'm good.
I'm gonna force myself to finish FF12 next.
Yeah, do that. Do that first for sure.
I'm gonna do that. I set it up. Okay, how much?
Oh man, I see this green update ready arrow in the top corner of Discord, and I'm afraid.
Don't do it.
All right, I gotta bounce, guys. Peace.
All right, have a good one.
Good to chat with
Talk
you,
to you
bud.
guys next week.
Good
Have a
to
good
chat
one.
with you.